There are stories that crawl under your skin. Stories that make you look over your shoulder, even when you're in your own home. Door locked, lights on. And today, I'm going to tell you about a man who turned safety into an illusion for millions of Americans. This is the story of Joseph James DeAngelo, the man the world now knows as the Golden State Killer, the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker. A single person with three different names of terror. The man who hid behind walls, windows, backyards, and the calm suburban neighborhoods of California. A man who blended in so well, nobody suspected that the quiet, angry neighbor next door was actually one of the most prolific predators in American history. Let's start at the beginning. Joseph DeAngelo grew up in a household that was far from normal. His childhood was loud, hostile, and filled with the kind of emotional damage people never really shake off. His father was violent, strict to the point of cruelty. The kind of man who barked commands instead of speaking. And somewhere inside that environment, something twisted. Something broke. Neighbors later said he was a quiet kid. Polite, a bit strange, easily angered, but nothing that screamed future serial predator. And that's the most disturbing part. He slipped through life unnoticed. When he came back from the Navy, he wanted what everyone wanted, a normal life. He became a police officer. Let that sink in. A cop. A man sworn to protect people was the one they needed protection from. And he used that badge, that knowledge, that authority to become even better at hiding his true self. The story begins in the early 1970s, in a quiet community near Sacramento. Back then, neighborhoods were soft, warm places. People didn't lock their doors. Kids rode bikes without fear. Couples left windows open at night to let in the breeze. And then, things changed. Women started hearing footsteps outside at night. Backyards were disturbed. Windows found open. Strange phone calls, breathing on the other end. Dogs barking at shadows. It felt like someone was watching, because someone was. Soon, the break-in started. A drawer open here. A personal item missing there. A window that shouldn't be unlocked. Little things. Almost like someone was practicing. Then he escalated. Between 1976 and 1979, the man who would be called the East Area Rapist attacked more than 50 women. 50. And each attack followed a horrifying pattern. One that made suburban homes feel like traps. He'd sneak in while everyone was asleep. Sometimes hours earlier, he'd hide, wait, watch. He would survey the house, memorize its layout, plan exactly how the night, when the moment came, he moved like a ghost. Silent, controlled, methodical. Victims said he had a strange way of speaking, whispering, growling, almost like he was performing a role inside his own twisted movie. He tied them up, used dishes stacked on a man's back so he'd know if he tried to move, made threats with a coldness that didn't sound human. But he wasn't reckless. He wasn't impulsive. He was careful. Too careful. He avoided mistakes. And every time police thought they were close, he slipped away. He became a legend of fear. But DeAngelo wasn't done. Not even close. He relocated to Southern California. And when he resurfaced, he was worse. much worse. That's when he became the original Night Stalker, a predator even more violent, more unpredictable. He attacked couples. He moved through homes like a shadow. He escalated to murder, not because he needed to survive, but because he wanted total control. The terror spread like wildfire. Newspapers didn't tie the crimes together at first. Different cities, different counties, different jurisdictions. Nobody knew the same man was responsible. And DeAngelo knew that. He counted on that. He used the cracks in the system as his playground. Entire neighborhoods started sleeping with guns under pillows, windows nailed shut, alarms installed. But nothing stopped him. And then, as suddenly as it began, the crime stopped. Just like that. No warning, no explanation. He went silent. People moved on. Investigators retired. New cases filled the desks. And the Golden State Killer dissolved into a ghost story. A name whispered by true crime fans, detectives, and families whose lives were shattered. But here's the thing about ghosts. Sometimes, they don't stay dead. Decades later, technology advanced faster than anyone imagined. DNA databases grew, and suddenly, a brand new method of identifying criminals appeared: genetic genealogy. The technique that would change everything. A small team of relentless investigators uploaded old DNA from the crime scenes into an open genealogy website. Not looking for him directly, but for distant relatives. Third cousins, fourth cousins, anything. Piece by piece, they built a family tree. A tree with hundreds of branches. And at the very center, a name appeared. Joseph James DeAngelo, a retired police officer, a father, a grandfather, living in a quiet neighborhood as if he hadn't terrorized an entire state. When the police finally arrested him in 2018, he didn't fight. He didn't deny. He didn't plead. He just whispered, "I did all that," and hung his head. Inside his home were the same traits he carried through life: order, control, routines. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical. Just a very normal house, owned by a very abnormal man. In 2020, he finally confessed to 13 murders, over 50 assaults, more than 100 burglaries, and countless unsolved crimes that may never be fully linked to him. He sat in court frail, quiet, pretending to be weak. But everyone knew the truth. This was a man who strangled California for decades. And when survivors stood up and faced him, their voices shook the room. They weren't the ones who were broken. He was. The judge gave him life without parole. He will die in prison. So why does his story matter? Because Joseph DeAngelo wasn't some monster hiding in the woods. He wasn't a stranger in a horror movie. He was a neighbor, a cop, a husband, a man who blended into society so perfectly that nobody recognized the evil behind his eyes. For decades, he watched the world pass by, unnoticed, unpunished. And yet, the thing that finally caught him wasn't force or luck or someone slipping up. It was science, persistence, and people who refused to let the case go cold. The Golden State Killer is gone, but the fear he created, that stayed for generations. And that is the real horror of Joseph James DeAngelo.